Here for hour number 2. We have a special guest co-DJing here for hour number 2. We have from the women's basketball team a regular guest, probably sick of me by now, but he's here anyways, whether it's against or for his own will. Head coach Tony Grenek, welcome.
Oh, thanks, Zach. I never get sick of you, and it's always a pleasure.
I'm really sorry. You're the only one.
It's a pleasure being in here, working with you for this next hour.
Perfect, perfect. And we will start with our usual segment, which is Buy or Sell. And we will start with Buy or Sell. Tiger Woods deserves to be numero uno in the world.
I'm gonna buy. He's one of the most popular athletes ever to walk the face of this earth. No matter what sport you talk about, he brings the ratings up. Everybody is either rooting for him and wants to see him win every golf match, or they can't stand him and want to see him lose. So he's been playing great so far this year. I think we're getting the old Tiger back, and golf's a crazy game. I know he had a couple bad years under his belt with some personal problems, and I don't even know if the personal problems are part of the downfall of his game. I just think maybe golfers go through that period where they're not playing very well. It's a very difficult game, but looks like he's back, and I'm all for it.
Tiger Woods is a guy that's really streaky, but I think if you ask Tiger Woods, I think he buys being number 1, but I think he's not happy with the results until he gets that major. Since he's had the off-the-course problems that you documented, this is a guy that's just not been able to get the job done in the majors. He's come close in Masters, he's come close among others, but this is a guy that ever since he's received a putting tip from Steve Stricker, he's completely gone off, and what he's done is absolutely astounding. And he deserves to be where he's at. Unfortunately, his friend Rory McIlroy had to go from 1 to 2, but this is a guy that Tiger Woods, when he's on, still, no matter what his age is and skill level, there is no one else that can touch him.
And one quick comment I'd like to add is I think it's very the knee problems that he had really stopped him from playing well, and a lot of people forget about that. They just only know about the personal stuff. I really think he was hurting with that knee, and I think that knee's fully healed now, so I think he's in a position now where he could win a couple majors this year.
Buy or sell, Florida defeating Florida Gulf Coast.
Oh, that's a definite buy. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about this Florida Gulf Coast stuff, or whatever they're called. I'm going the Florida Gators winning by 30 this week coming up.
I think that Florida, a team from Florida, will win. No, I'm just kidding. Well, yes, technically that is correct, but I think that Florida Gulf Coast is not used to the media attention. They're enjoying it, but I think it's really cutting into their practice time. And this is a team that needs all the practice because, as I said at the top of the show, this is a team that wanted an exhibition at the beginning of the season with Florida, and Florida said no. So now they're getting it, and final score Florida 81, Florida Gulf Coast 45.
I like that, Zach, and I'm going to, some other things I think we should mention as well is, you play Georgetown the first round game. They're kind of a slow it out, grind it out team. Then you go and you play San Diego State, who, you got Steve Fisher, who's a wonderful recruiter, but he's not going to out X and O anybody. Now you're going against a real deal and somebody like Billy Donovan, who has a week to prepare, and after all this hype, I think this Cinderella story's over. And
Reggie Miller's not calling the game, so no high fives will be exchanged either. But also a quick shout out to LaSalle, the job that they've done also. It's very, very tough as a 12 seed to make 13, whatever the seed is, 12-13 to make it where they're at. So good on them. But perhaps shame on Buy or Sell, UCLA firing Ben Howland.
Oh, that's a tough one. Ben Howland, even though he's from the West Coast, plays that East Coast style of basketball that he started here at the University of Pittsburgh. Grind it out kind of style, defend man-to-man in the quarter court. Maybe getting those second-tier type players that weren't those blue-chip All-Americans and looking to overachieve. And I think that style, the people at UCLA, the fans and administration are into that, and they want to see something that's more exciting, more up-tempo. And I would be, if I was USC, I would be all over trying to hire Ben Howland. And try to make that program like that, where it's a grinded out, tough style. But we'll see what happens. I guess I'm going to buy it because UCLA wants to try a different style. I don't blame them. And Ben Holla probably needs to will have more success at a different place as well, and he'll find another job.
I think the move's a good move for Howland. I just think the problem with UCLA is that they're expecting another John Wooden, and they're never going to get that. This is a guy in John Wooden that's a leader, dare I even say a revolutionary of the game of basketball. When you think of basketball, one of the first, James Naismith is the first name for me, but then somewhere in that top 5, definitely for sure, is John Wooden. And you have a guy that, him and Jamie Dixon are kind of, they're very similar to me. They get the job done with what they have, but when it comes time for that win that they need, they just can't get it. And the Pac-12 is so it's not necessarily that when it comes to raters and people that make the polls, it's not the one that conference that carries too much weight. So I really think that they're trying to be serious and they're trying to make that next step. I think that it's going to be tough for them to do that. I do think that Howland was not too bad at recruiting. I mean, he had some successes, he had some failures, and ultimately, despite beating Arizona 3 times in 1 year, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, and the other question that I have, I don't know who UCLA is going to hire.
Everybody says Shaka Smart because he's going everywhere.
And I heard yesterday that he basically turned down UCLA. How true that is, I don't know. But I don't even know if that would even be a good fit. And like you said, you're always going to be in that shadow of John Wooden. And that obviously is never going to happen again. So I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Moving on to Buy-or-Sell, the Pittsburgh Penguins winning streak ends after the Miami Heat's.
I am going to sell. I think the Heat are going to continue to win just by looking at the schedule, and I think the NBA is almost like the NFL this year, where there's very few elite teams, the Heat obviously being one of them. I think that what the Penguins are doing is amazing, but I think you can't combine or compare, I should say, the two sports. There's too much that can happen in hockey, and it's such a physical game where I just think the Heat have so much talent, and now they have some depth with their talent that in the teams that they've played, I've kind of looked at their upcoming schedule. I don't know who can beat the Heat, and I think that their streak will continue longer than the Penguins.
It really depends for me. I do think that the trouble game, if they can beat Chicago tonight, which I expect them to do, 8 o'clock ESPN, is San Antonio at San Antonio. This San Antonio team is a very, very difficult team with the healthy Tony Parker back in the lineup, a guy that before his injury was being hailed as a potential MVP candidate, the only person that could throw up a competition against LeBron in that category. I do think that could be a very, very much a trouble game. However, it seems that the Heat are playing video games anymore. How much can we go down by to win games? 27? 35? I think you could put them. I think they should just spot teams 25 points and just see if they can come back. It's becoming one of those video game scenarios. With the Penguins, I mean, we saw this earlier in the season with the Chicago Blackhawks. Eventually, in the words of Jack Nicholson, something's got to give. Wow, impressive. Anyways, sorry, that was a Jim Rowe moment. I'm sorry, but yes, I do have the Penguins losing before the Heat. Not to say that the Penguins aren't going to keep it going, but with Marc-Andre Fleury's health in question right now after what happened last night,
sure,
I'm going to reserve judgment on them just because we've seen the good and we've seen the bad of Tomas Vokoun, and this is a guy that can bring it. You saw he held a shutout and they had a dual shutout, but I really don't know if the Penguins can sustain it with someone like Fleury out to add to Chris Letang, who apparently got re-injured last night, and Evgeny Malkin.
Sure.
Sidney Crosby, Buy-or-Sell. He's the most dominant player in sports in 2013.
I'm going to sell, and I'm going to go what we kind of just talked about before. I'm going to go with LeBron James as the most dominant athlete so far this year. And, I just think LeBron's at the age now where he is in the prime of his life athletically. He is surrounded by, not just Dwayne Wade and Bosch anymore. He's got, you know, some shooters and some excellent players that come off the bench with them, and he's just taken it to the whole new level. And I honestly think he's made the game of basketball, I think you said it perfectly, he makes it look like a video game right now. And, you know, it's like, you're right, they'll try to get down 10, 15, 20 points just to see if they can try to come back, and then he wants to turn the lights on and just take over the game, which he can at any time. So, right, but, you know, however, Sidney Crosby has been absolutely sensational. Looks like he's totally healthy once again, and he's a very, very, very close second. So, but I'm gonna lean towards LeBron right now.
I'm leaning towards LeBron too, but what Crosby's done has been very sensational with what he's been doing, and my Raiders are on strike, I'm sorry, but slap of the leg right there. But yes, what LeBron's done has been magnificent, and he's been dealing with a lot of obstacles. I really think he's silenced a lot of these critics. This season he's been more of that, I can do this now. I can take that fourth quarter, and I can pretty much say to you guys, shut up, I'm going to silence you, I'm going to prove you wrong. At Boston was a perfect example of that, where he had the keys and he started the car and he came through, the car came through, it wasn't snowing, the bridge wasn't icy. Okay, that was terrible, but yes, you get the point. Buy or sell, Elvis Dumervil to the Ravens is a good idea for Baltimore.
I would say I would buy. You know, I know a little bit of the situation when what happened with him in Denver, and I mean, like, really, is he going to go and put himself in a good situation with the Ravens, defending Super Bowl champs, basically, you know, getting rid of everybody on their team? So I guess it's a good pickup for the Ravens. We'll see what happens, but, you know, for him, I don't know if that was personally the right decision to go to the Ravens.
I really think that Joe Flacco didn't do himself many favors. He was out for himself and he wasn't out for his team. And those kinds of things really penalize you. What you've seen in the offseason has been that he went for the big contract so he could be the richest quarterback and he can have the Guinness Book of World Records or whatever. What he needed to worry about was just franchise me for this season, guys. We need a defense. Ed Reed's gone. They just signed Michael Huff from the Raiders today, I believe, so that's their replacement. But I don't trust anybody in the Raiders, so there's that. I like Dumervil, but I think that's because by default, off the top of my head, I cannot name anyone else in the Ravens defense except Haloti Ngata and Terrell Suggs. So I guess that's 3 people out of, what's that, 11. So that's not going to get the job done. Joe Flacco's losing guys left and right, and he really has no one to blame for himself. But with a minute left, we're going to go with the goofy one. Tim Tebow, buy or sell, should accept the Arena Football invitation.
Sell. You know, people can say whatever they want about Tim Tebow. I mean, if he can make a career of being a backup quarterback for the next 15 years and stay healthy and collect a paycheck, why not? And don't be surprised. I know he has said it before that he would like to coach someday. So, you know, be an armchair quarterback, backup guy, hold the clipboard, then go be a coach.
The move to the Jets was the worst thing that could have happened for him. Now it looks like they're going to draft a quarterback after all said and done. Mark Sanchez is looking terrible. This team is a complete mess. I can't say the word that our buddy Billy would say right now. I think you know. Let's just call it what a dump. Let's just do that. What a dump. But yes, that's essentially what the Jets are. I think Tebow needs a new opportunity where he can shine in a different offense where his talents are to rest perhaps the Pittsburgh Voltage. And maybe, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea because you've seen a guy like Kurt Warner whose career this launches, but I don't know. But we are up against a break. When we come back, we are going to, our brackets are all messed up, so we're going to try to pick games again. You're listening to A to Z Sports on 670 AM WPPJ.